Hello and welcome to this presentation on using cartoframes with GeoDB instances. So if you're not familiar with GeoDB, GeoDB is a fork of CartoDB which is open source based on the original version of CartoDB, CartoDB 2. And we're going to be demonstrating how to use cartoframes in your Python or Jupyter environment to do basic data science workflows of handling data. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to need to do is learn how to authenticate. So when you are dealing with any data that is being written to or interacting with data to and from the server, then you need to have authenticated against the server. And for this, you need your master key, your username, and your URL of the server. These are the three things you must have. So let's do a demonstration of how to do this. First, you need your API key. So we're going to grab that from the your developer settings under the user settings, and your URL is just the URL of the server with the protocol, so the HTTPS protocol, and no paths after the domain name. And your username is just the username that you logged in as. And then from that, you create a .env file, which is a pretty standard way to store your environment variables for a project in the root of your project directory. And let's just go ahead and do this for our example here. So I'm going to go to my API keys and grab my API key. Server URL, which is just that, and I need my username, which is that. And I'm just going to save that as a .env file. So there I have my environment file. And the first thing we can do is go ahead and set up our credentials. So I'm going to go open my Jupyter environment. We're going to go ahead and import this package called .env, which loads the .environment file, and then set up our credentials, and then set our default credentials to be our credentials. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab all this. Okay, so now that I've set my default credentials, I can go ahead and do some data, create a data set. So here I have a URL, and this URL is actually pointing to a GeoJSON file, and that GeoJSON file contains some locations of Starbucks in Brooklyn, and there are 10 locations in that, and we're just going to go ahead and load that data, and this data already has a CartoDB ID, probably because it was exported from CartoDB. So we're just going to delete that column because that's a primary key, and continue, and then load that data frame in. And notice we're creating a geodata frame using GeoPandas. So let's go ahead and do that. This runs correctly. Okay, there you go. So we have uploaded our data set. If I go back to my my server. Oh no, there it is. Okay. Just took a second to load. All right, so there's our data set, and you can see it has 10 rows. There are 10 rows. Do a count. There's 10. Okay. So returning to our presentation here, let's move on and append to this data set. So I'm just going to go ahead and load the same data set and append to it. So it should, it would have duplicates, but we're not going to worry about that for this demonstration. We're just going to see that the records should go to 20. So the way we do this is that we have this if_exist parameter, which we set to append. Okay, so now we're going to run this, and let's run that. And there's, we have appended, this time appended the data set. So let's just go back to the count here and apply that again. And here we have 20. Okay, moving forward, we have the replacing of a data set. So just overriding the previous data set, we should go back to our 20 records. And the only difference here is that if_exists is taking the argument of replace. So same thing, and here I'm just going to run it with replace. And if I clear this, count again, I should have 10. So now the final part is just to delete a data set, and that's as easy as delete table. So let's run that. And there we go. So if I go back to my dashboard now, I have 0 data sets. So there's your example of running all your functions with the GeoDB and cartoframes. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a productive use of cartoframes.